Good Thursday evening to everyone. How are you? It is good to see you, and it is good to be seen by you. Welcome to the show. I, of course, am the one and only Bill Sylvie, aka the Dungeon Delver, coming to you live, loud and clear on a rainy Thursday night, somewhere in an undisclosed location in the swamps of Central Florida. And I greet you. I greet you in the name of me. Welcome to the show, everybody. I am your humble host, and have we got a show for you tonight? I'm asking, have we got a show for you tonight? Has anyone seen my notes? Yes, of course we have a show for you tonight. We have got, because it's Thursday, we have got, of course, a guest. Thursday is when we like to have the guests. You know, we're opening that gateway to the weekend. So we have a very cool thing. You guys know that I like y'all a lot. And I like to say, and I mean this absolutely sincerely, I have the best looking and the smartest audience of any 5-night-a-week live TTRPG, classic TTRPG stream here on YouTube. And I will kill on that hill. But part of that, I have the smartest, is that you guys are also, so many of you are creative geniuses, or I guess I should say genii. Is that it? If I can steal a little bit from Josh Pate. But I have you guys out there to talk to, and it's so often wonderfully surprising that I find out that you guys are not merely passive actors in this. You don't simply sit there like a lump on a log and stare at the computer screen. You guys create too, and you guys create wonderful, awesome stuff. I've had so many cool creative people on the show, and that's why I'm really excited tonight about our guest, because he's one of you. In just a few minutes, Doc Flamingo is going to be joining me not right here. If he burst through my studio door and walked and stood here, I would be as shocked as the rest of you. But he will be here in the virtual sense here in just a few minutes. And we're going to talk to him about the Age of Blood and Iron RPG that he has worked on. And it is a massive scholarly RPG work. He was kind enough to send me a physical copy of the 2 core books that now proudly occupy some shelf space over yonder. So he's going to be with us, and we're going to talk to him about all kinds of cool stuff, rather than me having to read like 250 characters at a time from him. We'll actually be able to conversate back and forth. So I'm pretty excited about that. So hang on to your hats. You might want to take your shoes off, or else your socks are going to get blown right through them tonight, folks. But before we get to that, let me ask you a favor. If you have not, if you're one of that, if you're one of that few who maybe holds things to a bit of a higher standard, and you're waiting to see whether or not something is worth clicking subscribe and clicking the bell icon for notifications, now is your time to strike. There is no better time than now to do that, to seize this moment. Please click the subscribe button. Please click the bell icon for notifications, and spread the good word if you like what you see around here. And remember, a thumbs up is absolutely free of charge. That's just part of the value add that I like to bring people when they are my show viewers. Thumbs up, 100% free, no monetization added on thumbs up here, folks. All you have to do is click that button. So please and thank you. And of course, tonight's show sponsor is me. Of course, you can check out our merch. It's linked in the conversation. It's linked in the show description below. Don't look for it in the conversation below. If you're watching this in the future, you won't see it. But in the show description, you can find a link to our merch store over on Spring, where you can get an excellent Tracy Lesh design on just about everything that you would need around your house, your gaming pint glasses, canvas prints, stickers, t-shirts, hoodies. We've got you covered wall to wall, folks. So you might want to check that out. And of course, it's brought to you by Crom, the character record organization manager software. Have you ever found yourself seriously needing to put together a fully comprehensive character? I'm not talking about just roll stats and hope for the best. He's a fighter, he has a sword. No. Guys, Crom does everything. You can go from a prompt to a fully generated character in 4 minutes flat. Fully generated, all the equipment, everything accounted for in just a few minutes, and it's available for Windows 8, 8.1, 10, and 11, 32 and 64-bit, and it runs on Linux through Wine. That's right. So all you propeller heads out there who love your Linux, and I feel you. I feel you. Give Crom a try. Does Crom have a web page, or do you email me directly right now, Kyle? I'm going to work on a sales page for Crom. I think it would do me good to get that to get that set up. But you can reach out to me. My email address is coming up here. It is bsylvie@gmail.com. Now, we are just a couple of minutes away from Doc joining us. But I do want to mention something. I'm trying to mention this before every show. We are giving away 4 holiday gifts that will be given away on Christmas night 2025. Me and Mrs. the Dungeon Delver right here. We're going to spin that wheel. They're all the same item, but this is an utterly unique contest opportunity, guys. Utterly unique. You will not have a chance to win something like this again. Okay? You will not have a chance to win something like what we're going to offer again, and you'll want it. It is gaming related. It's going to be something you can look at and go, "Oh my God, I can't believe I have that." And we're doing 4 drawings on Christmas night for them. But I'm going to tell you, it is open to channel members and patrons at any level. If you want to become a member for $2, there's a membership button. I think it's over here somewhere. You can become a channel member. If you want to become a patron for as little as $1, do it now. I will reveal on October 1st what that gift is going to be, what that prize that you have a chance to win with a spin of the wheel on Christmas night 2025 will be. If you want to wait till then to become a channel member or to become a patron, that's entirely up to you. But I will tell you this. Entries close October 31st, 2025 at 11:59:59 on October 31st. That will be your last chance. If you come in mid-November, you come in on the 23rd of December, and like, I'm a $1 patron. Oh, I didn't win. I'm no longer a patron. No. The window closes Halloween night. It's open right now. So if you want to become a member, if you're not already, or a patron, if you're not already, this is your chance. If you don't get in before November 1st, that's it for this year. So keep that in mind. A life side, that's next year, Rabbit. Shh. That's next year's. All right. So now that I've said that, we are at the 10-minute mark, which is a plenty good time, I think, for me to stop talking just to you guys and to welcome tonight's guest. Now, this cat has been, I don't want to use the term founder too loosely, but man, I tell you what, when it literally, like when I would get excited when there would be 6 or more people tuned into a live stream. This guy was one of those. Okay. And I'm not kidding you at all. He has been a supporter of the show going all the way back to 2021. He may have even watched in 2020 before I came over here to YouTube. I don't, maybe we can ask him that. But he has created a tabletop role-playing game, which we are going to talk to him about. So I want everybody to welcome your fellow chat member who has snuck into the back room and is currently enjoying some schnapps and baklava. But let's go ahead and have Randy bring him on out here. Everybody, please welcome the one and only Doc Flamingo. Doc, how are you, my friend? Good to see you.
Well, Ave, true to Kaiser.
Excellent. So let me ask, should we, we all know you as Doc, but there may be some folks around here who are perhaps, new to the scene, that sort of thing. Would you prefer Doc or Jason? You tell me.
Either works for me.
Okay. So, I mean, you guys out there, if you're like Doc Flamingo, that's a little weird. I'm going to think of that.
I've had that since high school, that moniker.
Really? Okay. So I think we got the thin end of the wedge coming in there for what to talk about first. But anyway, so again, dude, thank you so much for your continued hanging out on the live stream and being one of those people who's chill AF. And YouTube, if you're listening, AF of course means athlete's foot. I don't want to get demoned, but I know you as Doc Flamingo and the guy who created Age of Blood and Iron. That's kind of where we leave off. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay. I am in Old Grognard, 56. I first played my first game at D&D back in 1980. I just turned 11 years old. I was playing with a bunch of older kids that were like 15, 16. I had to really harass them to let me play with them because they didn't want this like young kid bothering them. But I was very determined, and I went through my whole resume of the stuff I had read, and I was already a big Howard fan. So I was like, oh, okay, we'll give him a try, and it went very well. And within 2 years, I was running a game for these guys.
Excellent. So it's been a lifelong love affair with TTRPGs since.
Yeah, and I played all through my 20s. Around 2000ish, I fell out of the hobby for a long time. Just I went into the army. All various things were going on, and then probably about 6-7 years ago, I just out of nowhere got the hankering again. So I started putting my collection slowly back together. There was a great tragedy in my life. One of the reasons I got out of gaming, I had a very ugly breakup, which resulted in a lifelong collection being thrown in the garbage on me.
Oh, no. Oh, it hurts.
Oh, it was very painful. I had all of the MERP source books. And then one day I decided, I wonder how much it would be to put that back together.
Yeah.
And then after 20 minutes on eBay, I was ready to shoot myself.
Why is that figure 8 on its side next to the dollar sign? Oh, infinity dollars. Okay. Oh,
although the good thing about it is that my copy of Fantasy Wargamer was also destroyed.
Yes. If Steve Jackson's Fantasy Wargamer was lost, then that almost balances it out, I think, karmically. Oh, that book is cancer. Anyway, so you rolled back in, and you've been building your collection back up. But when you came back 6 or 7 years ago, during that pause, did you kind of keep one toe in the pool, or was it hey, we were playing first edition when I left, what the hell happened?
The last D&D edition I played was last time I played D&D up until recently when I started playing with Bear again was we started playing a little bit with second edition. I was
Mm-hmm.
not enamored of it. In fact, in my very early 20s, I was like very militant about taking the demons and the devils out, and like all I was very upset that they like were knuckling under to the satanic panic crowd. So that kind
Right.
of turned me off to it. I mean, the game definitely needed a re-edit, but but I didn't like what they did with it.
Yeah.
So I wound up, and that's where we got into MERP from there,
Mm-hmm.
and then we moved on to Rollmaster, and I quickly discovered that Rollmaster out of the box was entirely unplayable.
Did you hear that, Gonzalo?
If you play that game the way it tells you to, you're going to spend every other session doing nothing but updating your character.
Basically.
So I decided, okay, I need to house rule the living piss out of this game to make this playable. And after doing that, I was like, I damn near made a game entirely. So I decided, you know what, let me do that. So I put together a game that we played for several years. That's actually out on Drive-Thru 2 called Ashes and Empires. That's a freebie. Anybody wants to grab that.
Ooh, okay.
And we played that for many, many years. And that was always in notebooks, like handwritten notebooks and things like that. And then just before I started playing again, actually the thing that kind of got me back into it was I found all these notebooks. And I thought, well, let me just type this up and throw it on Drive-Thru. What the hell? So I did that, and then I had to play again after that.
Mm-hmm.
And then, after I started getting back into playing, I said, you know what, I'm not entirely happy with the way this is. So let me start from scratch and do something entirely different. So, and that's where Age of Blood and Iron wind up coming from.
Interesting. And this is the right page, right? Because
Yeah.
a lot of times you search DTRPG and it's like, I'm looking for Keep on the Borderlands. Oh, you mean Keep on the Borderlands by Zugmatoy Press? And you're like, no, I meant the one written by Gary Gygax. Gary Gygax, who writes for Green Slime Publishing. No. Their search engine needs just a little bit of tweaking, but this is it, guys. Ashes and Empire. Now I don't have this linked, but I'm gonna throw this link up in the chat so you guys can go check that out. So now you kind of sort of answered a question that I was gonna tuck away for later, but I do kind of want to get into this, and it can be now, it can be later, but with Age of Blood and Iron, I know a lot of things, and it's interesting that you brought it up, that you brought up Rollmasters. Rollmaster, as anyone can tell you, was originally someone's attempt to make more realistic combat for AD&D. Yeah. It's like they liked AD&D, but they wanted much more realistic combat, and I do not know how true this is or is not, and I'm certainly not going to pick at a scab, but I have heard that one of Gary's less charitable rants in Alrams and Excursions or Out on a Limb about people demanding things be more realistic in D&D was leveled at the people who created Rollmaster, and
I can see that.
presented it to Gary with, isn't our system for AD&D much cooler and better than what you wrote? But so Rollmaster grew out of a sense of, we like D&D, but we're going to create a subsystem that's better. In the case of Age of Blood and Iron, did you clean sheet Age of Blood and Iron, or was it a sense of, I'm slowly building on to, well, in this case, Rollmaster, and now it's just so big, we're just going to kind of snap it off and, hey, look, presto, it's its own thing?
Well, that was kind of the case with Ashes and Empires, which originally started out when we first started playing it as a percentile system. Okay. And then it became a 2d10 system after a while, just because nobody was doing that at the time. And I also started getting very into the bell curve. I very much like that because it's a good way to control the ranges where the middle results are more probable, so you can like
Right.
kind of tailor it to like, okay, at this skill level with this difficulty, you're like 90% likely to do it, and then it gives you a lot of control. So
Right.
then I decided to go to a 2d6 system just because I like dealing with the smaller numbers. It's the way you get the table math is like really, really fast, and you have a good range. So I decided on 2d6. Plus, this is probably a lot closer to the Traveler system than anything else. And that it's a 2d6
Interesting.
versus target number, and the
Yeah.
character creation is very much modeled on Traveler, on basically my take on the Traveler system, because that was always my favorite game to make characters in. I could just sit there and crank out like 20 characters in a row in Traveler, just have a ball doing that.
Yeah, and that's not a bad place to go. We've played some Traveler here on the stream before, and yeah, I mean, character generation, depending on how many terms you want to do, character generation can be lightning quick in Traveler, which is nice because death can be lightning quick in Traveler
Yeah.
also.
That was one of the things I always loved about Traveler. The fact a lot of people didn't use it, but the fact that you could die during character creation.
Yeah,
really tickled my fancy somehow.
that I always thought that was one of the more interesting aspects. I can honestly say, in all the times, whether it's just been me by myself, I have a print-on-demand Traveler book around here somewhere that I've occasionally gone through, but I can honestly say that that's never happened. I've never seen that happen. I met someone once who's a dedicated historicals wargamer, and the one time he tried TTRPGs, it was Traveler. He said, I spent 20 minutes making a character, and he died during character creation. And I said, well, this is stupid, and I never went back to role-playing games again.
It's just getting you ready for what's coming. You could theoretically, in Traveler, have a TPK without playing a session.
That's right. That's right. You absolutely can. All right, everybody start making a character. Dead. All right, well, that was fun. Let's try something else. Kyle Johnson says, didn't Gary himself make a game that was a little more detailed AD? Gary made Dangerous Journeys. It was not intended to be a more detailed AD&D. It was a wholly new system, and he deliberately made a wholly new system because he knew that TSR would sue him as soon as he made any system. So he strove to make it as not AD&D as possible.
Which
and
they,
of course,
they sued him anyway.
And they sued him. They sued him anyway. Lost, and then just bought Dangerous Journeys from GDW. Paladin Steve, we're wandering a little far afield because I do want to talk about Ashes and Empires and of course Age of Blood and Iron, but there is an outside chance way down on the right hand side of the bell curve that as you're going through military terms, something happens, a war, a transit accident, you get run over by a beer cart, something, but your character does perish. It is less and less probable the newer your character is. So what it is you're gambling basically in character creation and Traveler. You are gambling. You are betting that you will get a bigger retirement fund and retire at a higher social level and have more of an established character when you leave the military. You're gambling against the years you spend in the military not having something horrendous happen to you. So that is how you basically you're gambling. And thank you for the super. Thank you very much for the super. Some see that as a game flaw. I see it as a viable subsystem. Exactly so, Bob.
In practice, usually what most people did when they're playing that is if that happened, they made you muster out and start then. That was kind of like, okay, you have to stop.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people did just house rule like that. It's like, okay, so, and I think later Traveler just did away with it anyway.
Yeah, I think you can still get like hurt and like lose stats, which something I did include. You can actually get to have stats go up or down during the course of character creation because of injuries or stuff. But I eschewed the outright murder. That seemed a little mean and a little
Right.
just too old school for a lot of people.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Definitely. So but as far as I'm aware, no character death in Ashes and Empires are in Age of Blood and Iron. So uh Ashes and Empires has been out there since what? This is almost a decade
Yeah, I
out
put
there.
that out quite a while ago. That's probably it was right when I first moved back to Florida after being up north for quite a while. So
Okay.
yeah, probably about 10 years or so ago it got put out.
Okay. Well, that's right. You are here in the Funshine State also.
Oh yeah,
Are you central, north, south?
I'm up in North Florida. I'm in Live Oak, which is probably about like hour and a half from Tampa. Probably about the same distance, about halfway between Tampa and Jacksonville, out
Yeah,
in the
yeah.
sticks.
I'm not unfamiliar with it. You are in the southern part of Florida, which ironically is the northern part of Florida. For those of you who don't know, the further southeast you go in Florida, if you just go due south and you hit like Okefenokee and the Lake Okeechobee area, you are still in the deep south. You ain't from around here as you boy areas. But once you hit Pompano Beach, once you hit uh, Dade County and through most of the Keys, you pretty much might as well be somewhere up in the Northeast, except
It's
it's
northern exile country over
yeah,
there.
it's northern exile country. So we are a state divided by a common landmass down here. But so yeah, you've had this out there for a while. It seems to be pretty well received. It is a 5-star. It's an Electrum bestseller, folks. You're not just buying somebody's crazy idea on a PDF out there. This is an Electrum bestseller. You could do a lot worse than to grab Ashes and Empires. But uh that then brings us over to Age of Blood and Iron. Let's talk about the exogenesis or the genesis of Age of Blood and Iron a good bit.
Yeah, well, that came from basically. I look back at the old game, and I was like, this was good. It was solid. It grew. It very much grew in the playing. So it was a little haphazardly put together in some ways. I wasn't
Uh-huh.
entirely thrilled with a lot of stuff. So I decided, no, I can do this a lot tighter and a lot better. So I started from scratch, and I went on an absolute tear. It was about 6 months from conception to print. So I really threw myself into it.
All right. So as far in the times that I have actually done design, I'm not a game designer. I never will be. Um, I guess it's the difference between a musician and a guy who plays guitar, right? The guy who plays guitar knows Stairway, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and Disarm by Smashing Pumpkins. The musician can sit out there and write their own music, but in the case of design, when I do design modules and stuff, I find that the most difficult tooth pulling aspect is playtest, is finding not
Oh
just
yeah.
what works, because it's easy, I think, and just smack me upside the head. Just drive down here tonight and smack me upside the head. You feel free to, if I'm wrong here. But I think that the deceptively easy thing about game design is sitting back and saying, I have 5 people at my table, not counting myself, and I explain, okay, a 1 or a 6 is a success, but 2 6s is a failure, and here's why. I'm just making that up. Obviously, that's not one of your mechanics, but and then you explain it. Oh, that makes perfect sense. But then it just kind of falls apart once it gets out into the wilderness. do and you're not sitting there explaining precisely how that is with the play testing process, whether it's A&E or Age of Blood and Iron. Did you find that to be the case? Did
Oh,
you find
very,
things that
very much so. Because I mean, you write things, and it makes perfect sense to you because you're the one that came up to it. You think you explained it very, very clearly, and there is a big difference between having somebody sit down and show you how something works and reading about it, using a very different part of your brain, and it's very easy to get lost in the sauce. So I definitely had a lot of people read it. When I made the first game, I had a friend that also ran the game with me. That
Mhm.
I would give him the stuff to read. It's like, don't ask me anything, just see if you can do it. One of the main things I do. First time I start playing with people, I just give them the stuff. Is like, see if you can work out the character creation on your own. Ask me stuff if you need to, but see if this is clear and let me know if something's crazy about this. So my initial roster of players that I'm still playing with now, we're playing this Sunday. I basically gave them the books as like, see what you can work. Let me know if anything doesn't make sense. Yeah, because it's very hard to tell what's going to be clear to people on reading. It's a very different thing than having explained to you in person.
I remember now. Have you played anything by Free League? Their D6 pool system.
Did they do the Star Wars game?
They, I don't know if they've done one or not. They have gobbled up a lot of licenses like that. They've got Twilight 2000. Speaking of GDW,
Okay, I made characters for Twilight 2000. I think we wound up not playing it.
yeah, I don't think their system necessarily fits a Twilight 2000. Plus, everybody who's touched Twilight 2000 has screwed with the timeline a little bit instead of just saying, look, here's the divergence in history. Everybody's wanted to say, like, no, we'll update it for modern, what really happened. Like, look, just make it alt history based on the first edition and go from there. But I remember because I ran into something about this makes sense to us, but when other people read this, it doesn't make any sense to them. And I actually went to the designers. I was like, hey, this doesn't make any sense. And in Tales from the Loop, Tales from the Loop is basically Stranger Things. And you're playing adolescence, so there's not a lot of gunplay. There's not a lot of, hey, your character can die, but they can take conditions. Scared,
obviously, it
hurt.
doesn't take place in LA.
It doesn't take place in LA. They can be scared, hurt, angry, upset. What the difference between angry and upset and scared are, but anyway, when they take a condition, the rule says when they take a condition, all other skill die rolls are at -1. Now, sixes are the only way to succeed. Like, you roll a handful of dice and a 6 equals a success. But if all your die rolls are at -1, you can never succeed. What they meant was you take a die out. It's at -1 die. See, it made perfect sense to them at their table, but the way it is explained in the rule book. So I emailed the creators and I'm like, this doesn't make a lick of sense.
Yeah,
and
it's very easy to make mistakes like that.
It's very easy to step into it because it's like, again, you, the creator, are at the table and you can explain things and make things make sense to people. And that, I think, when you're creating stuff, and I've run into this as a module designer before. I had one of my big modules that's out there for people to download doesn't have the upper part, like the ruined watch fortress on top of the dungeon. And I had so many people come to me and say, did you mean to include a map and encounter areas for this? Because you refer to it all the time. And I'm thinking, well, no, it's just the focus is the dungeon. Of course I didn't include that, but that's just one of those cases of I ran that as a tournament dungeon all the time and would tell people, you go in this entrance to the dungeon, not thinking dungeon masters are going to say, okay, I want to have this full fortress, fully fleshed out. So that is something that has always been a curious thing to me about game design is how do you do that? How do you let it go out there? So for either one of these, both of these, how big of a playtest size did you have that you felt was adequate for A&E and for Age of Blood and Iron?
Well, Ashes and Empire, that was kind of like played as it was being built. So a lot of that was kind of just baked into it.
Okay.
Because we came out, I had a very like basic outline for it. This is the resolution mechanic. I had a list of spells. Like we didn't have monsters initially for like the first couple years. We were just kind of like, okay, but jot down some notes, this many hit points and blah blah blah. So it basically kind of grew in the playing. With this, I'm running a game initially 4, now 5 people. I think I had a much better handle on it, so I was able to when I went into it, having already made a game and gone through all of this process. So it was much easier the second time through, knowing where most of the pitfalls were. So that was a much more streamlined process there. I basically had a pretty good hand, and I also have just like a naturally good handle on probabilities.
Okay.
In terms of dice and modifiers, so that came pretty easily.
Sure. And like for your feedback system, when you were playtesting this, obviously, as you say, you gave it to friends to game master. As the ripples kind of went out and you wanted some of that echo back from people, was it just kind of an open feedback? Did you have like a structured system? Like, look, here's a spreadsheet. Tell me, indicate in these boxes where things went wrong or where things went right, or rate them or that sort of thing? Or was it just kind of a more organic, just tell me how it works for you guys?
Yeah, it was kind of ad hoc. Like a lot of times, like especially early on, like play would kind of like stop and we'd literally sit there and try to like re-engineer a system like on the fly. It's like, okay, this isn't working, or this is way too complicated, this is taking too much time. So because a lot of it was just, half the fun was like building the system at that point. So we didn't have a problem doing that. It was like, okay, let's just stop and work this out. And one very funny story about that, we were playing, one of the guys we played with was had been a Navy SEAL. And we had just this system, this modifier for if you're like melee combat, if you're fighting underwater. And we basically just came up with a modifier for it. And he just got a bug up his ass. And he was like going on in excruciating detail about everything that's involved in underwater knife fighting. So we were kind of like, okay, me and Dave, the other guy, were like, okay, well, walk us through this. Why could be amusing?
You know what? I was, this is one of those, shit my Dungeon Master's Guide says. If you read the Dungeon Master's Guide carefully, it talks about how in tight melee, you can't really say, I'm going to hit this guy specifically. It's up to the Dungeon Master to decide where your blows land. There is no, I'm going to attack this orc right in front of me. There's 3 orcs in front of me. Maybe I hit this one. Maybe I hit this one. Maybe I hit this one. And I enforced that rule until I wound up with a group of fighters from the SCA at my table who they were used to CQC with a lot of people. And they're like, oh, no, Bill. You can absolutely decide who you want to hit and when you want to hit them. So I threw that rule out. So I've been there with the, actually crowd.
Yeah, and we went through this whole thing. It was like, okay, and what kind of modifier should that be, and blah blah, and we got to it. So it comes out to about -5. Oh, look, that's what we had. Only without the 30 extra steps.
Right. So yeah.
And we were joking actually for a while about making a game, Underwater Knife Combat, the role-playing game. Just like having different classes, like Pearl Diver, who could like
I'll buy a
hold
copy.
their breath for 2 hours at 20th level. And we probably should have made it at one point. That would have been funny, but
I mean, hey, if nothing else, it's an excuse to get down to what is it? Oh, where is it? You know, the sponge diving down on the southwest coast of the state.
the big Greek town.
Yeah. Go
I
have
went
some
there as one
souvlaki and
kid, yeah.
same. You know, go down there and do all that fun stuff. But no, that's interesting about how organic your playtest went, because there's so much anymore. I feel like for all the resonance of a feeling that everything is oh, it's all kitchen sink again and it's like 1977 again. I think everybody wants to try and be the slickest. You know, we have an app, and you know, we have a Discord, and we have a website, and we have forms you can fill out, and you know, it's like, am I going to have to upgrade my PC just to play your 19-page PDF pen and paper OD&D copy? Is that what is going on here? I feel like there's a drive to that under this veneer of we're just plain folks just knocking together our own homebrew thing. But you guys are Jeff, the greatest dungeon master alive. Yes, exactly. That's that, unless that app is Chrome, and then buy that app. But yeah, so it's nice to know that this is something that grew up from y'all's table and has done well enough. I mean, you know, Electrum bestseller, and then you know, you've got Age of Blood and Iron. Now, something I thought this was really cool. I'm gonna pull this page up here. Let's see, is Drive Through going to actually send me to the right place? So let's see, Drive Through RPG. Okay, drum roll here. Nope, it's not Age of Blood and Gold. There we go. Well, we'll go to the Amazon page. We'll bring up the Amazon page. But if I am not mistaken, you guys on the drive-through page, is there like a sample version of Age of Blood and Iron?
Oh yeah, there's actually 3 versions of the game.
Okay.
There's the 2-book core system. There's this, which is basically. Oh, did I just get disconnected?
Okay. We're having a little chop from you, but you'll come back.
Which is basically a pared down version of the 2 books together in 300 pages. It's basically missing almost all the optional rules. It's got like half the monsters, half the spells, but it's a simplistic system. And I also have this, which is just 50 digest size pages, which is just bare bones, the basic mechanics. And also there's going to be I'm working on now, there's going to be an omnibus version of the 2 big books, all put into one, but you know, with smaller 10-point type and columnized, because basically the version I have now is built for old grognards like myself whose eyes are going.
Right. I mean, and you know, that is one thing I adore first edition AD&D. Shocker. I know that probably comes as just like a deep inner shock to you and everyone else out there in audience land. But my God, it is not healthy to try and read
that 8-point type. Oh
yeah. 8-point Futura, man. That just it's murder, and this is not an affectation. I need these. Hey, Kabuki, good to see you.
It's like when you read in the Oxford Dictionary that they give you the magnifying glass with when you buy it. Like what?
Yes, exactly. So, so there's so many routes into this now. is Age of Blood and Iron, does it have an open license? Can people develop adventures for this, and sell them on their own? Is that something you're doing, something you want to do, something you
I
don't
didn't
want to
print
do?
anything. I didn't include that in the game just because it was one of those things I kept meaning to look into it because I'm not really even sure how that works. I have no problem with anybody putting out anything though.
Okay.
Just mention the game and I'm happy.
Well,
So
right
yeah,
there you guys go. The ultimate open license, right? Um, and so that then brings me to why are you doing
that's a problem I would not mind having at all if it got big enough that people were doing that.
um, so now this is an example of how much free time I've had. Is there a default campaign or one that you have in mind, either at your table or to publish for Age of Blood and Iron? Or are you just keeping it like OD&D style? Look, it's open. You do what you do.
Yeah, there's definitely a bunch of campaigns. There's about 6 or 7 campaign books I have ideas for.
Okay.
The game I'm running right now is based on sort of a mythical alternate history 9th century Britain. That's the one I'm running right now.
Okay.
I have and I've got extensive notes on that. So that I want to put that out. I've got my old from back of from Ashes and Empire campaign that I still have all my notes on. So I want to put that out. I want to do one on medieval Japan with updated
Ooh,
weapons and armor and all that stuff. I want to do
very nice.
a Western because I think that
Okay.
would work very well with system. Just need the new equipment and some background stuff. I want to do one sail for pirates because I'm a huge pirate fan.
Excellent.
And I also, since it's now public domain, although public domain is kind of a murky area, I
It is.
very much want to do a Hibernian game,
Mm.
or the in the Conan universe. Hibernian is actually Irish. I'm totally brain blanking.
Hyperborean, I think you
Hyperborea,
meant,
yes.
or
Yeah,
Hyborian.
yeah, Hyperborea. I very much want to do a campaign in that because I've just, since I was a kid, I've been a huge Howard fan.
Excellent.
So
Excellent.
there's a whole bunch of books because I don't want to do different editions. I may put out errata if it's needed, and at some point there'll probably be a companion because there's some rules that I didn't have worked out and didn't put in. So maybe in a couple
Mhm.
years that'll come out. But basically the game is done. So I don't want to be pushing new editions or anything. So instead I just want to every now and then put out a new campaign world with whatever updated information it needs. Because they're like the Western game, you're going to need like the guns and some background information on stuff like that. The
Mhm.
Japan one will need a lot of background information, but basically things like that. Like, I am not at all a fan of the game GURPS, but I am a huge lover of their world books.
Yeah,
Those are amazing.
GURPS is one of those things that I think everyone owns at least one GURPS book. Nobody plays GURPS. Nobody plays GURPS. Everybody has a GURPS book. I've got somewhere over on the shelf over here behind me. I know there's a GURPS book. I can't remember what it is, but I know there's a GURPS book on the shelf behind me.
Yeah, I got a dozen of them. That's one of the, when I started putting my collection back together, that's one of the first things I started doing was collecting the GURPS books that I
Yeah.
really liked because they're impeccably researched. They give you exactly the information you need. They're absolute top shelf, and it's easy to adapt that stuff to other games when you need to.
Yes.
But GURPS itself is a train wreck.
Yes, Kabuki has GURPS. She takes medication for it. I think that don't eat past 8:30, and if you do have to have a snack, make sure you're sitting with a slight upright incline. That can help.
Yes,
With
and
that.
no direct sunlight.
No, yeah.
Because then you'll realize you're playing GURPS.
There you go.
That's not good for anyone.
That's not good for anybody. But what is it? Bob Jester said, same with riffs. I don't. That would require me to say something nice about Kevin Simbeda, and I can't. So I can't agree with you. I can't agree with you on that, Bob. But no, all kidding aside, yeah, it's good that there are so many sources. I wanna kind of pin you down a little bit though on because you activated my trap card on the Japan book. Are you going for strictly an historical medieval Japan, or are you going for a mythic Japan?
The way I would probably want to set up would be so that you could do either. So
Okay.
I'd probably have like all the historical stuff up front, and then there would be a section in back which would have like all the creatures and various stuff like that, and adjustments to the magic system to be fit the
Okay.
tone of it a little better, things like that.
All
But
right.
it'd probably be in two sections for exactly that reason. Because I actually really like historical games. We're running basically a fantasy version of the Europe thing now.
Mhm.
But I also I've gotten very into just like straight up historical games when I've played them before. So I'm a big fan of both.
I feel like I I I like historical stuff, but there has to be for me. I mean, it's just my eternal ADHD 12-year-old brain. I gotta have something weird and shiny to distract me at all times, or else I'll get bored. Um, which that's not a good thing. I don't say that proudly. It is what it is. Um, but when you talk about uh kind of the blending of the two systems, a mythic Japan or Hyperborean or Hibernian age like that. Um, is that how you'll approach any of the historical settings, like a mythos in the back and historical in the front?
Yeah, pretty much. Probably with the Caribbean pirates thing, I would actually probably be less inclined to do that because that's just one of those things where in that particular realm I would be very strictly historical. I mean, although I might include some stuff on like
And
local native
yeah,
mysticism and stuff if you want to use it. And it's
sure.
also be one of those things where you could just import stuff from the fantasy rules anyway if you wanted to.
Sure, sure. And I think just throwing my opinion out there, you feel free to disagree or agree with it. Anybody out there in the audience, of course. Um, but I find that when we're talking age of sail from 1400 to I don't know, probably about 1780, 1790. A good earmark, by the way, viewers, if you guys want to know, is grab a copy of Sid Meier's Pirates Gold, rather, from Microprose from back in the day. That is a fantastic
There's a
pirate.
very fun little game. It's not too complicated. It's not too simple. You could just get lost playing that game for days.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, days and days, only days if you're lucky. But I think that era is fascinating enough that you really don't need fantasy. It's fantasy unto itself. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
when I would play pirates, I'm talking about my early 20s, and I was about to say when I was a kid. But when I would play pirates,
I
when I
feel that
was
way about my 30s.
uh,
It's
I
like,
know
I was a young whippersnapper of
it ain't the
40.
years, it's the miles. But when we would play pirates, I mean, how often would you take a flag and then just like I can't imagine what the Gulf Coast and Florida region, the Caribbean would be like if you just went on a rampage and like, I'm flying the Dutch flag now. Everything in the Caribbean is going to be Dutch, Spanish out, French out, English out, and then turn around and do it with a different empire. And you're basically making a fantasy game at that point because
Oh yeah, very, very much so.
what happens to the world? I mean, the capital W world, when you change something as radically as that. It's like, no, the entire Caribbean, you guys are French. Everybody's French. French Key West, French, French St. Augustine, French Tampa, everything's French, and then flip it again. Everything's Dutch, everything's Spanish, everything's English. I think the point behind my rant, and I'm sorry, you're my guest, and I'm stomping all over you. But the point behind my rant is, I think you can be historical and it be fantastical enough in some settings.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Like the Western games are another thing. A lot of people feel that it needs to be Weird West, and I do like the Weird West too. But I think you can. There's a lot of stuff. Really, there's like 6 stories in the world, and everything's variations on them.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, it basically comes down to a matter of taste. But you could do a lot of stuff even with strictly historical stuff. There's always a lot of places to go. It's just about making an interesting story with compelling characters in it, and you're off to the races.
Right on. And again, I think ultimately, like you say, it's making compelling stories. So you talked about Age of Blood and Iron. Like, this is it. It's set in stone. Maybe some errata, definitely some arrow modules, or campaign settings, I should say. I English goodly, by the way, Doc. I English very goodly. But have you got an itch to do something else as far as game design, or has this gotten it out of your system?
Oh, absolutely. No,
hit
this
us.
is just started up a whole thing of stuff I want to do. I very much want to do a sci-fi game. In fact, I want to do 2 sci-fi games.
Okay.
I want to do a big sprawling space opera based on some novels that I've written that are going to come out in a couple months once I scrounge up the money to pay for the ISBNs, which are very pricey. I also want to do kind of a Gamma World-esque kind of game. It's not going to be so much a post-apocalypse, but the conceit behind this is it was a planet that was settled on another star system through sublight, just generational travel.
Generation
and
Starship,
it
right?
kind of fell apart. And it was largely, kind of a horse colony because they didn't have a lot of, they didn't have the big infrastructure. So people farmed with animals and, horse plows and stuff like that. But there's, a couple places with high technology. These religions and superstitions have stepped in, and it's become kind of a feudal system, except the knights have power armor and on crazy jet bikes and stuff like that. I think that would be hugely fun, where they think the technology maybe have some psychic stuff going on that people consider magic, even though it's actually, and things like that. I think something like that would be a lot of fun, because I always love playing Gamma World, but I did think it could stand to be a little more grounded, because Gamma World as it is just bonkers wacky.
Yeah. There's a lot to be said for the clarification. You and I were talking about this before we went live, about kind of the that very grounding that Gary gave with GW1 Legion of Gold.
Yeah, one of the best modules ever made for any game.
Yeah, Legion of Gold is very, very good. And I mean, a lot of the clarifications did whoopsie. You guys looking at my browser there as I'm getting ready to bring something else up. A lot of the clarifications that were in Legion of Gold, I think, got baked into second edition. And then a lot of the strangeness kind of got uninstalled as Jim sort of clarified things, because heaven knows when you're reading the rules and they talk about, to avoid this, make a saving throw. There are no saving throw rules in Gamma World, Jim.
Yeah, I remember one of the fun little loopholes they left in the first edition of Gamma World is that if you played a mutant and you had an 18 constitution, you couldn't get negative mutations. So if you happen to find yourself a fusion rifle, you just sit there blasting yourself in the head,
Yeah,
pumping new mutations into yourself. I mean, some of
yeah,
the
yeah.
positive ones were like, "Oh, damn, carapace, ooh."
Yeah. But then you
But
got other ones like time travel.
yeah,
It's like, well, Mr. Game Master, my character decided to go back and stop the apocalypse. So, have
yeah,
fun
and
with
I
your
love the
game.
technology trees where you're like rolling
Oh,
to see if you
we
blow
had
yourself up.
so much fun with those. It's like, because grenades are on sometimes, and I think the rules specify like maybe this thing does 1 or 2 points of damage because the thing you're trying to figure out how to work is a toaster oven. It's like, ow, I cut my finger on it, and I did D4 damage. Okay, it's fine. And then there's other times when the thing you're trying to figure out is a torque grenade. It's like, oh, a 10, another 10, an 8, another 10. What happens, Game Master? Everybody roll up new characters is what happens.
Or you could have a few lucky rolls and you know how to run the nuclear submarine.
Exactly. You guys find a Los Angeles class attack boat. Rock on. Yeah, I like that. I actually do not mind that kind of gonzo at all. One of the things you were talking about with your sci-fi game sounds very heavily influenced by the High Crusade. I was trying to remember the Poul Anderson book, The High Crusade. It sounds like it's a little bit High Crusade and a little bit Metamorphosis Alpha. Am I
Oh
am I
yeah,
getting
I
more?
definitely want to like steal from like Logan's Run and Zardoz and just all
Oh
these
no. Just
bonkers stuff
just
that I and
just
having
just don't tell the players they have to wear neon red banana hammocks, and I think we're good. So when I feel almost like I'm being pushy about asking this, but dude, when do we get a sneak preview of the sci-fi game? What's
well, that is this thing. Sci-fi games are very, very complicated because there's so much that has to go into it. I have a bunch of basic ideas on how I have a ship combat system, something I worked out for Star Trek for Bear's Star Trek game. That was kind of based loosely on it's like a very pared down kind of version of Starfleet battles, but for use with like because he based his largely on FASA combined with oh, I'm totally blanking now on the on BRP, kind of the two merged together, because I
right,
very
right.
much want to do it abstract. I don't want to get into like minis and maps for this stuff. So I want to do stuff where it can be done totally theater of the mind with the vehicles and ships and stuff like that. So I
Right.
have a basic idea how that's going to work, but then you have like, well, the ship construction system, which could get very, very complicated, and like how detailed do you want to get with the weapons and stuff like that. So I
Mhm.
mean, there's a lot to flesh out. So that's kind of sitting on the back burner right now till I get the novels out and I can start focusing on that, because I've got so much projects on my plate that I'm very, very bad about starting 50 things
Oh,
and just kind of like looking at them all for a couple hours at a time and like
absolutely understand. Executive dysfunction is a
yeah.
real thing. Um, but
But that's definitely something that I very much want to do, because I'm a huge, ultimately, I'm probably a bigger science fiction fan than even fantasy. So,
right on, right on. I'm a chocolate and peanut butter guy. Both are good. They're good together sometimes. Um, so let me ask you this. This is always the eternal question. When you're not playing your own stuff, not that you don't have enough stuff to play test and to tinker around with and and put a spin on, what other stuff are you playing? What are you what are you running when you're not running your own stuff?
well, I pretty much for the longest time have really only run my own stuff. I'll
Mhm.
play in other games, but and whenever I ran a game that wasn't mine, I so mutilate and alter it. It's basically mine anyway. Like the last time I ran a D&D campaign just right before I had the drop off, I like just book like 2 inches thick of like house rules. I completely changed the way the classes worked. I completely changed the way the combat worked. It was basically a completely new game, and I'm always going to end up doing that. Just because I love to tinker. I love to play with the rules. I was a huge like Lego freak when I was a kid. I love messing with stuff that I made for myself.
Of course, you've got the instruction kit on how to make the helicopter. Your old man builds it for you on Christmas morning, and Christmas afternoon you've turned it into an X-wing fighter, right? That's how that goes.
Exactly.
So and now I'm going to embarrass myself here. But you have run Age of Blood and Iron at Guac, right?
At Guac?
At Guac, yeah.
What is a Guac?
You know what Guac is. Don't be silly, man.
I'm totally
great the great.
Oh no, no. I haven't. I've only run it. I was thinking about doing it, but it was still kind of like not quite there yet, and so I wound up not running it. But I've been running a game that we do on my YouTube channel, which is basically just for that at this point. So we're, I think, 12 sessions in. But no, I wanted to, but the game wasn't quite together in time, so I wound up not doing that for Guac.
Dude, it's published and selling. I think we can say successfully that it is ready. so you've got a fair few months. I certainly wouldn't.
Yeah, when is the next one?
Oh boy, that's always the question, because I keep moving it around, and because I'm like, okay, I'll have it a little bit closer to this. Oh, we're all going to Gary Con and this con and that con. Bill, sorry we missed Guac. Okay, I'll push it out a little further. Oh no, that's too close to this holiday and the beginning of this and this other con. I'm like, ah. So I will figure out in a time. I think this past year I kind of shot myself in the foot because I had Guac happen like I announced it a month before it was going to happen. So I didn't precisely leave you lovely people out there in audience land very much notice. I will get something organized for Guac on a timetable, and look, if it steps on
definitely
your con,
for the next one. Definitely for the next one.
Excellent. If you, meaning you folks out there, look, if I set it and forget it and you can't make it, I'm sorry. I've got to pin it down, and I think I'm probably going to move it more towards March. I'm going to move it earlier in the spring. I've been pushing it further and further out in the summer, and I'm going to bring it back in, because this channel really began in February of 2020 when human malware was first detected. So that I think I'll bring it a lot closer back to when the channel first kicked off.
I've actually never been to a con. It's something I've been wanting to do. I was hoping to go to Claricon, this upcoming one, but unfortunately I work for soulless bastards and couldn't arrange for the time off.
I see. Well, he's doing virtual Claricon, so I mean, unless you're just absolutely, just shackled to, I don't know, a mine cart or a moldboard plow or whatever you do, maybe you can get out there. And I have promised to give Dungeon Minister the same level of support at his virtual con that he did for me this past year. I kid him. I tease him mercilessly about that. So I'm going to try and do something for virtual Claricon. So that might be an avenue. I'm just saying, no pressure.
Oh, definitely. If online, I would actually definitely do that. I very much want to go to one in person. I want to do a smaller one. I don't think I'd really want to go to like Gen Con or anything, just because of all the goofy
EggCon. Dude, go to EggCon next summer. EggCon is...
Was that the one you went to recently?
That is the one I went to. Heidi and Eric feted me up at EggCon, and it was so much fun, dude. It is a small con, but you don't feel like, well, I'm wasting my time. I played in 2 games, and that's half of the games being here. No. They have very full card grid of games. I do recommend, and I'm not just saying that because I love Heidi and Eric to pieces. I do. So yeah, I give it thumbs up. Kabuki is asking, where is Dungeon Minister? He's around. He's getting ready for Claricon, and I usually do my live stream right about the time he's got to get his kids to bed or he's got to get ready for a sermon. So it's like, if he pops in here, we're having him on. We'll have him in the audience and cheer him on, and all the love in the world to him. But he's a busy man. PML, he's around here. I mean, not right this minute, but PML kicks around here a lot. So yeah, I would love it if you would come to Guac and run some Age of Blood and Iron, or even some Ashes and Empires. You are open, and you know what? For you, buddy, free badge. That's right, platinum badge just for you.
Can I arrest people?
Can you arrest me? Do you want to arrest me?
It could be
that's
fun.
That's between you and the people that you come down on. If they're okay with being arrested, then I guess so. But no, it's guac is 100% free, and if you can't trust free guac, what can you trust? Yeah, so you're absolutely welcome. I am sure there are people out there who would love to play some of the lightweight. I was see if I can get the acronym right. ABI, some lightweight Ashes, Blood, and Iron. Did I get it right? I did it.
Close enough.
Ashes of Blood and Iron, or Ashes and Empires, rather. Age of Blood and Iron. So yes, please come to Guac and play some TTRPGs with us, my friend. You are absolutely welcome to bring it and run it.
Most definitely.
I want to make you run D&D just to see what you'll do to change it now. No, you got to play D&D. I want to see
if you're willing to wait for 4 or 5 months for me to work out what I'm going to do to it.
We'll just play Ashes and Empire or Age of Blood and Iron. How about that? Yeah, I do.
And that's actually another thing. I kind of have this bug to actually put together like a BX clone of my own, just because everyone does it. I kind of want to do my own.
So here's my thought, and we're of the same age, and I think you'll understand this analogy. I think at this point in our lives, I'm going to write a BX clone is the equivalent of, I'm going to build a Kit Cobra car. I'm going to go out and get a 427 and a body shell, and I'm going to slap this thing together. Am I wrong? I don't think
it kind of fills that same niche.
It does. It does. What do you mean you drag this thing into the side yard? Honey, I'm building a sports car out here. What do you mean you're staying up all night reinventing Dungeons and Dragons? Honey, I'm building a BX clone. I would be interested to see your BX clone. Because clearly you have all the time in the world to do that. It's not like you put anything else on your plate. Gosh, I feel like is there anything that we haven't covered? Have I completely stomped over things you're trying to say and made great mock of what you're trying to get into people's hands so badly? Please, you have the talking stick. Let us.
Okay. Well, just a little about the game. It's a very modular game. The basic rules are extremely simple. I mean, they'll fit in this, the very minimal stuff. And yet I did this and this to it.
Yes. I have them.
It covers almost everything you can think to do. I mean, I even have rules for handling earthquakes and volcanic eruptions if you want to do that, just because I'm very much one of those completionist people. There needs to be a rule for everything person. There's a lot of optional rules. You can run a very, very stripped down, damage hit point system, or you can include hit location and critical wounds and wound states. There's just a ton of stuff you can do that. Basically, let me go over the basics of the combat system a little bit.
Cool. Let's do that.
Give
Let's do that.
idea.
I'm not in any super hurry. If you're not, by the way.
Oh no, not at all.
I'm not trying to rush you along. I'm like, gosh, have I given the poor guy enough latitude to actually talk? So.
Oh no, not at all. So the basic turn structure is it's all simultaneous. There is an alternate system for if you want to do traditional, like an initiative based system where you just do a thing per turn. But basically, starts out in an orientation turn, like, hey, you're bleeding, you're stunned, this person is rushing towards you. Then you handle missile combat, spells if you're using the magic system. Then you have your movement and non-combat actions. Then you handle melee, and then after that, morale. Or you can do, an initiative-based system if you want to do that. One of the things we get into is melee. There's 3 types of damage. Every armor has 3 different reduction factors for cutting, piercing, and blunt wounds. And different weapons do different things. And a lot of weapons can be used in multiple ways. For instance, if you're using an arming sword, and it's called an arming sword, not a long sword.
That'll please Stain Kyle to no end. But go on.
For example, it's got a primary cutting attack. You can pierce, or you can use your half sword and make a blunt attack with it. And different armor types absorb things differently. So, for example, if you're running around with a sword and you come up against someone in full plate harness, you're going to be doing almost no damage to them when you're doing damage at all. So you want a range of equipment. There's a broad range of different weapons available to you. I use a range system in melee. It's optional, but I always like to do it. Basically, you have close, near, and far range. Close range would be for your hand-to-hand combat, daggers, knives, and things like that. Full-size weapons will be at a penalty. Pole arms will only be able to make a very weak blunt attack because you're too close to use it properly. Then at standard range is for your 1- and 2-handed basic weapons. No hand-to-hand. Daggers and things are at a penalty, and pole arms are now fully usable, but at a penalty. And that far range, only pole arms can attack. And basically what happens when 2 people enter combat, you're automatically at the range of the larger weapon. So if, say, I'm coming at you with an arming sword and you've got spear, we're at far range, I can't even attack you. So I have 2 options here. I can try to force or finesse a range change. Finessing would be, it's a straight skill roll for each of us. If I win, it gets handled at close range instead. If you win, we stay at the far range and I can't attack. Or failing that, you can force a range change, which means you automatically go into full defense. You get the free attack on me, but on the following turn, we're now locked into my preferred range and you can't change it till the turn after. So this gives you little tactics based on basically on the weapons you're using. There's different stances, basically balanced, even attack and defend, increased attack, increased defense, basically a modifier to a bonus to one and a penalty to the other, or full defense where you're doing nothing but defending, a big bonus for that, but no attack, and full attack where you get to attack twice but get no defensive modifier. There's an optional system for fighting styles, which is very similar, but it's permanent and locked into character creation. For example, like, you're from a barbarian tribe and you have a very aggressive style. So you're always going to get a bonus to attack and always going to get a penalty to defense if you want to do that.
Now, Damien has a question. Does the greatsword count as a polearm for the system?
A greatsword is a polearm.
Okay. Yes. I have a question for you here too. Where in the combat round does spellcasting go?
Spellcasting happens if you're using spellcasting. That will be that'll be the second thing you do right after orientation, before missile. So it would become before missile combat, which becomes before movement, which comes before melee, which comes before morale. So if
Okay.
you're using spells, that's the first thing that'll get resolved. And everything's considered simultaneous unless you get eliminated on a previous segment. For instance, two guys are involved in a melee, ongoing melee exchange. If somebody fires a bow at them and takes one of them out during the missile phase, he's eliminated, so he won't get to make an attack in the melee phase, but otherwise everything's considered simultaneous. Also have a system because you have the different attack types. Like for instance, with a sword, you can, cut, stab,
Mm-hmm.
or make a blunt attack. You can mix these different attack types and potentially get bonuses. For example, if you have a secondary attack, the first time you use it in a given attack, you get a +1 on it. If you have a tertiary attack, you'll get a +2. An offhand attack, like if you use a shield or throw in a melee attack with it, that's +2 the first time you use it. And in addition, anything you haven't done for 3 consecutive rounds is at +1. So you can potentially rack up bonuses by switching up these different attacks. So even though, for instance, with a sword attack, using the blunt attack is going to be a weaker attack, there's an advantage to doing it because you can potentially rack up different additional to hit bonuses. That's something I want to do. It sounds a little complicated, but once you've run through it a couple times, it becomes very natural. It worked very well in the game we're running so far. And I wanted to do this because I'm a big fighter guy. I mainly like to play fighters in games. So I wanted to add tactical elements as opposed to just I roll, I hit, I roll, I hit. I wanted to avoid that. Also, we
Sure.
have an optional rule. For instance, if you're using like daggers and knives, you can take a to hit penalty, but double your damage if you're successful, to kind of simulate going after the gaps and armors and stuff and using the speed and
So
dexterity of a weapon like that.
I have to ask you something. And I admit, having not read Age of Blood and Iron all the way to this level of detail, are daggers and knives different?
They
Or are they
do.
all grouped under the same thing?
They're basically the same. A dagger does a tiny bit more damage.
Okay, but it's not like I know how to use a dagger, but I don't know how to use a knife, or I know how
Oh
to
no,
use a
no.
knife. Okay,
The way the skills work, basically melee is just melee combat. It covers all your melee, hand to
okay,
hand, covers hand to hand combat,
cool.
and then missile combat.
Right. It's like how in Warhammer Fantasy role play, anything from like a meat cleaver that you've tied to a broken chair leg all the way up to the finest forged war sword counts as a quote unquote hand weapon. And the reason I brought that up, as soon as you said daggers or knives, my mind was cast back to an old feature that Steve Jackson Games used to put out in their magazine called Murphy's Rules. And I think it is in RuneQuest. You may have the skill use knives, you may have the skill use daggers, but you might not have both. So if you know how to use daggers and you find a knife, you might not be able to use it because you don't have the skill. So I just wanted to clarify.
I'm not that sadistic.
Okay, that is.
Plus, yeah, I wanted to keep it to like around 30 skills altogether.
Right,
I
right,
didn't want
yeah.
to get into the craziness where, like, for instance, there's a skullduggery skill, which basically handles picking pockets and sneaking and things like that. Well, there is a separate stealth skill, but it basically covers your thieving stuff. There's an outdoor skill, which is, your survival,
Right
hunting,
on.
fishing, building shelter. I wanted to keep it fairly simple so that I didn't have to like have huge inflation of the amounts of skills you have. So
Yeah, I'm very much, I mean, just from a personal standpoint, I've always felt like that, if you're going out and you're gonna stick yourself bodily into a cave, um, and you have to travel a week across the open ground to get to the cave and get the treasure out, odds are you probably know how to snare a pheasant
yeah,
or swim across a river or climb a tree to get to get a piece of fruit out of it. So
yeah, and a lot of skills can be substituted for one another sometimes, like at penalty. Like there's a military skill which basically handles like logistics and military protocols and things like that, but it can be
Sure.
substituted with a penalty for the outdoor skill, because just being in the army, you've learned to do this
And you
basic
know,
stuff. You can do
and
entrenchment and things.
yeah, and I like the the KISS principle. Keep it simple, stupid. You
Yeah,
you
absolutely.
don't get over involved in, well, you took tie shoes, not tie boots, so you
Yeah,
get trench foot.
exactly.
Your character's legs are diseased now.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
that was one
Yeah,
of the
I
things
hate skill systems that
yeah,
do that.
that Ashes and Empire was a little bit like that. So that's one of the reasons I really pared it down
Well, that's good.
when
That's good.
on the
Yeah.
new system, because it was one of those things that's like, okay, it's more granularity, but is it really adding anything other than complication?
Yeah. And
So
that's one of the reasons. I mean, I don't know if you have a giant mecha suit spin on any of your rule systems, but I mean, back in the 90s when I was a college kid, oh my god, the more greebly the system, the better. It's like, no, I want to know how many, what fraction of a ton the right hand upper two finger actuators weigh, and how many critical slots they cost, and how many credits it costs to get them replaced, and if they get shot, how much damage. I was all about that. Now I'm like, I'm 55, dude. I don't have
yeah,
time for this.
yeah.
I don't have time for
Yeah,
this. I'm like,
you reach a point in life where you have a job.
yeah, exactly. So, I'm gonna die soon. I don't have time to learn a new system. Just give me the basics and tell me what dice to roll, please.
Yes, and that was definitely something that evolved between the two games, because it was like there was an obsession with granularity in the previous game, that
Right.
I later realized really wasn't necessary. It's you're after a certain point, the only thing you're adding is complication.
Yeah. I think
So,
Michael Connor felt attacked. Yes, it was an attack, Michael. But anyway,
yeah, and we have basics, like pretty simple systems for like mass combat, siege warfare, naval combat. That's all covered. We have one of the things I really like. There's a system, basically. There's systems for like managing your states and trading goods and things like that, if that's the kind of stuff you want to do. We've got a system for
okay.
dealing with noble houses, where you could actually, they're basically, you make it up like a character.
Nice.
And
So you can go full world building with
oh,
your
absolutely,
character if you want to.
absolutely.
I like that. That's nice.
And there's like
What
system for resolving plots, like if you want to assassinate someone or kidnap someone or damage their reputation in some way, there's simple systems for doing that. In fact, you can just play that as a game in of itself if you want to.
Yeah, I'm trying to think. Domain management.
Yeah,
All the
yeah,
kids over on Twitter are all about oh no, I want to run my Bronstein, so I'm doing domain management. I want to go in a dungeon and kill a kobold. It's like,
yeah.
and I think if you got a system that can, like Age of Blood and Iron, can kind of cater to both, you've got a banger of a system there. Now, one thing that I do want to I do want to talk to you a little bit about is art in the books.
Mm-hmm.
So who's done your art, doing your art? Do you want to do deluxe, more illustrated editions? What is your thought on art in RPGs? Obviously it's good, but what is your direction there?
Well, for the games I put out so far, it's all found art. It's all
Okay.
public domain stuff. I try to use, different things that you don't see all the time. Like I used, there's like some old stained glass windows, some actual medieval period art, old wood cuttings and things like that. I try to juice it up a little bit. Like there's a bunch of pictures where I added obnoxious little captions just because they amused me. But it's all found art in the game. Like even the cover image was a piece of clip art that I like altered in Photoshop, where I used Alpha Channel and put it over a gold texture and stuff like that. So I mean, I played with stuff to make it more interesting, but it's all found art just because I had no budget to work with. So this was
I
a complete
I
one man
absolutely understand.
operation.
I completely and totally understand that, brother. I absolutely do. And look, I wanted to make sure of that because so many times I've sat down with creators and said, now you're using a lot of clip art and found art. And they're like, actually, that's John Smith, and he's a friend of mine, and he's a very talented artist. And I can feel my face turning like bright crimson on camera. It hasn't happened often, and it wasn't very frequent.
Yeah, I mean,
so
I would love to work with a
ask.
good artist, but it's very expensive, and you're rolling the dice when you hire artists if you don't know them.
Yeah, so sometimes it's like, hey, yeah, absolutely, I'm all about this. Okay, cool. I need this, and this, and crickets.
Yeah, I know people who have gotten burned really bad. And so it's one of those things. Like if I ever have the resources to do that, yeah, I will do the crazy full color, all original art thing. But it's one of the things. It's nice to have. It's good for breaking up the books. That helps people find things when there's different artwork in different parts of the book. So that's one of the main reasons I included. I thought about doing going the full like traveler route. Like there is no art is not necessary. Use your imagination. Peasants.
What is it in Traveler? There's like one, like the original 3 books. There's like one like postage stamp sized drawing, like in the entire 160 some pages spread out over 3 books. There's literally a single postage stamp sized.
It's like just enough to like jar you when you see it. Like, oh, why is this here? This is odd.
Yeah. So, but well, I mean, a great solution you could do. And I just sent you a couple of links in private chat is try some AI art.
That's something I considered. And I actually with the creatures because originally it was going to be 3 books, the magic and the creatures were going to be separate. I wound up doing it as one just because I found the 2 books, like, in fact, I have printed up like copies that I got like the author prints before I combined it into one from Amazon, but they cross-reference each other so much that it was kind of like they really belong in one book. And I didn't want people to have to buy that many books. So, but yes. I originally tried, AI art for all the creatures, but and I'm one of these people, original art is great. If I could afford it, that would be fantastic. There's so much hostility to it, which will probably evaporate in the next couple of years. It's like, I don't even,
could be.
I decided it wasn't worth the headache of doing it. Because, I mean, there's a difference between commercial and high art.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people have an unnecessary hair up their ass about this.
Yeah, I was absolutely mercilessly teasing Kabuki Kid about it, but I mean, when I did my modules, I begged art off of people. I just said, would you please do this for me? My resources are none, and I will praise you to the highest praise. And I got a fantastic comic book artist, Aaron Smith, to do the covers of one of my modules and some other great art. And then there were times when people were just too busy, and I'd be like, okay, I got Photoshop, I got miniatures, I got a digital camera, boom, illustrations. Which I still think it's better than when Mike Pondsmith photographed G.I. Joe figures for for Cyberpunk 2020.
Did he do that?
He did. There is a release of Cyberpunk 2020 that has and I don't mean like, oh yeah, I can see that. No, it's like you can see the ball joints and the grippy hands and stuff, and I'm like, Mike, buddy,
there's something ballsy about doing that, though.
You know what? I kind of I have to appreciate the chutzpah to go out and be like, yeah, screw you. I'm photographing my GI Joes for the next book. If it's your first time out, Mike, buddy, if you're watching this, that's not on a flagship product. But no, I think the idea of what you're doing with old woodcuts,
Right.
classical things like that.
Yeah,
I think
it's
that's
just got to look good and fit the tone. And as I think as long as it does that, you're fine. I'm not
yeah.
somebody, and I think there's too much emphasis on turning game books into coffee table books now, and I think
There
it's to the
there really
detriment
is.
of the games.
There was I don't know if you've ever heard of this Nobilis. If you've ever heard of
I,
Nobilis,
I I've heard of it. I've never seen it. I've heard about it.
the rule book was a coffee table book. When I
Yeah,
saw it in
it's
a
the one
game
that's
store,
got that weird direction. It's like laid out really long.
yeah, it's like
Yeah,
something you would put out on a glass coffee table and open up and leaf through and look at Baroque sculptures and paintings, and it's not a great RPG. They clearly spent their first print run money on that and nothing else. But that's not what an RPG book should be. An
yeah,
RPG book should
absolutely
be
not.
a serviceable. It should be like an AD&D book. It should be like Age of Blood and Iron. It should be something that you could sit down, crack the back on so it'll lay down flat, and then go and start reading it without feeling like, well, I need to put my cotton gloves on so I don't smudge the pages of the book.
Yeah, like
Uh,
I was very put off. I know a lot of people love these games, but I like the Morkborg books. It looks like a '70s zine put together by somebody with a head full of mescaline.
yeah, it does, and I got to say, I won Mort Borg from Thane Kyle, and I've actually played this with Thane Kyle once before. But you're absolutely right. This is and I mean, we're talking about your stuff. We're not here to promote Mort Borg, but it is. I have one of these that came with a 45 record. A friend gave it to me, um, but it's very. I don't. This doesn't give off game book vibes. This doesn't
It's
feel.
gimmicky. It's gimmicky, and
Yeah,
that's
yeah, and I just it's gimmicky. It's gimmicky. So
and what should matter with a game is how it plays at the table. That should be where it
yeah.
begins and end. And the other stuff can be, if you can make it look nice, great. But if that's what when it comes down to about, I'm just going to make this weird looking thing or this expensive looking thing and just like impress people, and so they're going to want to have it just to sit on a shelf and never play it, then I don't see what the point of that is.
And
I think
I think
there's
I
there's
think
too much of that in the hobby already.
thank you. That's where I was going. I think we hit probably maybe we're kind of coming to, and as a designer, I would like to know your opinion on this, but maybe we're coming down on the other side of it. Um, but I feel like I feel like 2017 maybe to now we were in the bespoke RPG as a boutique item.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, I backed the Kickstarters so I could get the clear red dice with the clear dice with a reddish liquid inside, so it looks like they're blood, and the fold out wooden tarot card looking thing to roll my dice on, and the silk dice bag and the silver ink autographed rule book. Cool. Do you want to play it? Oh heavens, no! That goes up on the shelf.
No, you'll damage the book if you open
Yeah, exactly. It won't have
it.
value then. It won't have any resale value. It won't look good on my shelf. Well, do you like maybe play the PDF? Oh heavens, no! I don't bother with role playing games. I feel like we've kind of been there. Am I wrong? I mean, you're a
I,
designer.
I, I
Am I
think there's a
wrong?
lot of that, and I think it's kind of similar to what just happened in publishing broadly. Also, video games is kind of going through this, and I think we're getting to the point where people are realizing the big mass market stuff is worthless corporate tripe, but there is a huge wealth of great stuff that people are making out there, and you got to dig for it. You got to ask around, and you got to find it now, but there's great stuff being put out there on the indie market, and that's if you're serious about the hobby, as you know, as the hobby, that's where to go now.
Yeah, and to go back to that seriousness, I know I never want to cruise into the negative, but I think you'll understand where I'm coming from. I feel like a lot of that boutique speciality, you know, oh, you didn't back at the $500 level and get the set of pewter 54 millimeter miniatures in the felt lined teak case. I think a lot of that came from
Tourists.
thank you. I didn't want to say the word, but you said the word, and I think you and I are on the same page. And I want to clarify, just in case there's anybody out there getting ready to click the unsubscribe button. When I say tourists, or cancel your order of Age in Blood and Iron, don't do that. When I say tourist, I'm talking about not people who show up, they see a neat thing and they want to sit down and learn, but people who already know it is, but they want to show up because it's the place to be seen.
Yeah. I mean, not everybody has the same level of interest, and I have nothing against people who play casually once in a while. That's not the people I would include in that very deliberately derogatory term I used. When I say tourists, I
you're
mean
not wrong.
the people who are just like, oh, this is a cool thing now, so I'm going to like pretend to be a part of this until it becomes trite again, and I move on to the next stupid, vapid thing that I don't really have any personal interest in, just because it looks good. Yeah, it's like, and plus, I remember when you were like a pariah for being involved in this hobby.
Oh yeah, unquestionably.
Like
it was never it was never I mean, I think this bill of goods has been sold to people that back in the 1970s, like, the same kids who were wearing Izod shirts and Vans and the Levi's 501s back in the 1980s, that we were also playing D&D and being cool. We weren't. Okay, we were dweebs who stayed after school and played on the Apple II computers, and were in chess club and math Olympics and stuff like that. So you see, I'm gonna sound like I'm casting aspersions here, but I'm not. But back me up on this. Back me up on this, please, Doc. You see, like Joe Manganiello out there playing, like, I'm Mr. Cool, I'm Mr. Fitness. I'm, the beautiful people come in and show up at Gary Con and Gen Con and stuff like that. And you're just like, oh, so now it's cool.
Yeah.
But I feel like it's a little
nerd chic is really, really annoying on so many levels.
And I think it's kind of coalescing again, to where it's like, the people who saw nerd chic and came in and were like, no, you know what? The core of this is cool. The core of this is good. I want to play D&D. Please let me be a nerd, not because it's a cool thing to be seen doing, but because deep in my heart, I always wanted to be an elf named Hodo.
The true convert is always welcome.
The true convert is always welcome. The this is what they do on Stranger Things, and I certainly want to be seen doing the cool thing. That's a lot less.
And then the good thing about that is it doesn't last. And I think that's starting to dry up now.
It doesn't. Something else is found and moved on to. I don't know what the next wave is coming, but I feel like
they can go ruin something else now. They've had their fun with us.
But I will thank those people for bringing in some new blood, the people who actually want to play. So I guess I can.
Yeah, and it does, if nothing else, kind of wash away the stigma.
Yeah,
because that goes away.
And I am with you 100%, Kabuki. I am so thrilled about the last season of Stranger Things. Excited about it. I'm just a sucker for the show. I just love it. I will throw this up to you first, Doc. Thoughts on the rumored return of Dark Sun?
I do not even know what Dark Sun is. I'm totally blanking on this.
Oh, okay. All right. So this is one actually I'm not like you. When I came back to the D&D hobby, I missed so much 2E stuff. The people were talking about Dark Sun and Birthright and Maztica and Character. I was like, I like Greyhawk. So Dark Sun was a 2E setting, and it was basically if you took Twilight 2000, but a fantasy Twilight 2000. The nukes have flown, but the nukes were magical, and the world is completely screwed up. So, like, you have what was the big thing? That there is one thin peninsula of land that is still green and verdant. Everything else is in an uninhabitable desert. The world was basically blown up by magical nuclear war.
Okay, so fantasy post-apocalypse kind of
fantasy post-apocalypse.
Very, very, very cool concept.
Super rare metals. Like yeah, if you have a sword, it's made of bone or stone. It's not made of metal.
That was one of the things I think really messed up TSR when around second edition time. They went way too heavy into these settings. There were too many of them, and plus this is back in the days where you had to have everything pre-printed. It wasn't like you could do print on demand back then.
Yeah,
I think that's one of the things that really put them in the hole that they wound up in.
And you know, I have to share this story. This is, as a creator, I think you will get a both positive and negative kick out of this. The one thing that, like, I will vehemently agree with Ryan Dancy on was when they went to Lake Geneva, when Wizards of the Coast went to Lake Geneva, and they started going through the warehouses of stuff at Sheridan Springs. Ryan said, we found boxes and boxes, pallet loads, entire storage units full of all of that stuff that TSR flooded the market with. Stuff that had been printed up in 1991, shrink wrapped, and was sitting there like some game store is just someday going to order this, right? And so people are like, oh, well, what'd you do with it? And he's like, what you do in these situations, you write it down and you pulp it and you sell it for its weight. And you'd have thought he said, we went to your house and shot your dog. People freaked out over that statement. And one of the things that was just literally like I was on Ryan Dancy's side entirely with this was, he said, because people were like, well, why didn't you offer it for like, you know, like 30 cents on a dollar or 10 cents? I would have bought it. All these people saying, I would have bought it. I would have bought it. His response was, why didn't you buy it?
Yeah.
You had 20 years to buy, or you had a decade to buy it. Now I get it. If you were a kid, you know, if you were 10 years old and you couldn't afford a Maztica box set, or you couldn't afford, you know, Birthright or whatever, but you literally had until 1998 when we went in there.
It's not like it was under lock and key and they wouldn't let you have it. No, it was.
Yeah, exactly. It's that it was not being sent out to game stores meant the game stores either still had enough, or the game stores knew that it wouldn't sell. So I would have bought it that's not a thing. You had ample opportunity to buy it. He's like, we weren't grabbing like the unexpurgated deities and demigods and pulping them. We weren't grabbing wood grain OD&D sets and pulping them. Hell, we weren't grabbing basic sets and pulping, because there was none of that stuff. What was left was literally crap that people never bought. It never sold. It never moved anything. So it was like, People just lost their damn minds over over this. But to take this back to what you were saying, yes, it was part of runaway systems bloat, and TSR kneecapped themselves.
Yeah, there was
Um,
a lot of, there was a lot of mercenary crap going on. People were stabbing each other in the back, and it was
yeah,
like the place was in
uh,
turmoil. That's
it
what was going to happen. That's
it
as soon
was
as
it
they
was
went
a
down that road.
it was a bad situation. It was a bad situation. Fortunately, I would say 99% of that stuff, guess what? You can now get on drive through.
Yeah, and that's the great thing about PDFs now. If it's the material that you really want so badly, you can get it, and you can generally get it reasonably cheap now. Yeah, I have probably 300 books just on PDF. And I'd love to have physical copies of them, but it's like I'm happy to have the rules. I can reference them, and if I really want, I can print it up and play it from that if I want to. So that's one of the great things about PDFs and print on demand, is that you can avoid getting into these situations now. Though there would be, if I actually had to print up books and like wait for people to order them and mail them out myself, I could never have done this. There's no way I
Yeah,
would have been able to like finance that.
yeah.
So
My first blush with that, I've there's a young lady I've had on. You've probably been in the audience when she's been here, Alyssa Hazel,
oh yeah,
the author. Yeah, when I ordered my first book from Alyssa, was it? Yeah, Twitching Light. I got this. This was printed in Orlando, Florida. Now the printing company isn't here, but when I bought this from Amazon, they're like, "Oh, you're in Orlando, Florida," eh, you know, and it came out of a printer here in town and was delivered to my door in a couple of days. And I for my money, I think that's fantastic. I wish drive through would get on that, because sometimes you order stuff from drive through and it's like, awesome, it'll be there in 3 weeks. Wait,
yeah. I was very frustrated with the drive-through just because I wanted to do a print on demand through them as well, but everything needed to be like formatted in this particular system, which I did not have. It had no intention of buying or learning. And also, their printed stuff doesn't have the best reputation.
yeah, sometimes like, I think for obvious reasons, their Wizards of the Coast pod stuff tends to be pretty well done. I mean, WotC's not going to put up with too many
Yeah.
shenanigans, but yeah, I have heard
Yeah.
people say,
I've gotten a couple things from them, and there's definitely varying quality based on the size of the publisher, I will
yeah,
say.
and I think it's it's the nature of overseas printing. It's like, who's bid the lowest? Okay, well, it's this factory, and they're using only 3/4 of the glue and nastier rag paper. So, and it falls on us to get to we get it, and we have to glue the cover back on or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, this is one of the great things about the time we're in for a hobby like this now, is that you can set up print on demand.
Yeah,
This is stuff because I remember like I used to buy a lot of games back in the day, and you those like kind of like low level presses, like the guys Morrow Project. I don't know if you're familiar with that game.
I know Morrow Project.
That
Yes.
was a great game, very shoddily put together physically, but
Yeah.
that's what they could do.
Yeah, there's a lot of those old TTRPGs that are rare and hard to find, not necessarily because they were all bought up, but the print run they made kind of disintegrated.
Yeah. And there weren't a lot of them, but yeah, there was a lot of stuff like that out now, and now stuff like that now they can do. It's still a small company, I think, that puts it out. I think one guy is putting it out now still, but he can have big, thick, nice books now, because
Yeah,
you can do it print on demand. So that's something that's really good about the age we're in now, and it's there's a lot of crap out there, and the stuff you hear about all the time, because it's from the big companies, is usually the crappiest of the crappy. But there's great stuff out there too. You just got to do a little digging. You just got to find it.
Exactly. And I am so glad that you introduced me to Age of Blood and Iron. And
Thank you, sir.
I'm so embarrassed that I did not even like I was tonight old when I found out you also published Ashes and Empire. So I am so happy to have found out about that. So I want to hop back a little bit. We've been kind of rambling for a couple of hours now. Before we hit the top of the hour, your sci-fi series that is literally next in the chute, right?
Yeah, that's I'm going through the final edits now.
Okay.
Probably the end of next month, I should have the money saved up. I need about $300 worth of ISBN numbers,
Mm-hmm.
to do both paperback and print copies. And it's 3 volumes. They're all completely finished. They're probably going to come out all at once.
Excellent.
It was
Excellent.
originally written as one novel, but it's 500,000 words long, so it kind of needed to be divided into
I get you.
smaller
I get you.
covers.
So
That'll be out.
listen, yeah, when that rolls out, I would not hate to get you back on the show.
Oh,
And
absolutely,
and
absolutely.
and talk a little bit about that. I hope we've given good shrift to Age of Blood and Iron and Ashes and Empire tonight. I know I tend to get a little rambly, but I hope you've enjoyed yourself this evening.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, this has been a huge blast. I've been watching the show for years now. It's really great to be on.
I know, man, and it was wonder. When I got the books, I'm like, holy shit, dude's a game designer. He's absolutely coming on the show. And it just, with the spring into summer, everything going bonkers. And thank God I didn't have you slotted for last week. Oh, brother, don't even get me. Whew. Last week was absolutely bonkers. So, I don't think anyone stole your seat out in audience land, so you'll definitely be able to hang out. But I really, dude, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me,
Guys. I have linked to everything. I'm going to put a link to Ashes and Empires down there too. I have looked through Age of Blood and Iron, and this young man is going to be at Guac 2026 running a little Age of Blood and Iron, because I've got you on film saying that. So you're stuck now. And I want to play it. I want to play
absolutely,
it.
Absolutely.
It's enough to talk about it, but to play is the thing. So Doc, please head on back into the green room, help yourself to some baklava and schnapps, and I'll put these kids to bed. Thank you again for being here, my brother. Namaste, and we will catch you on the flip side.
Absolutely. Thanks to everybody in chat who showed up. Everybody have a great night.
All right, guys, and that's going to about do it for me this evening. I will be back tomorrow night. We will be back tomorrow night, because I will have Kennick, I will have Tim M. Holt, I will have Doomsword Deathmaster, I will have Kevin, and I will have Yang and Zhao, and we're going to be playing some Gamma World, barring any more plumbing problems, as I knock on wood. And that's going to be a lot of fun. Next week we have another very special guest on our Thursday show, and also next week Kyle will be back, but I don't want to give away too much. Guys. Thank you everyone for being here. Listen, I say this a lot, but I especially mean it on a night like tonight, when one of you folks has given me the privilege and the honor of joining me here on the camera. I love you guys all. I mean that. And you know what we forgot to do? We forgot to find out if there's Age of Blood and Iron stats for an owl bear. We'll just have to ask him next time. But until then, you'll just have to deal with this one. Peace. Good night. God bless.
Have you seen my owl bear? Here's to all the weirdos everywhere, in the woods and in the air. Have you seen my owl bear? Should I shave off all my hair? Bobs are all around, some live in tunnels underground. Some are fat, some are rich, some are sleeping in a ditch. Can you ride a crooked horse without a saddle, way off course? Naked as a toad, all the way to Smoky Joe's. Have you seen the little creep driving fast in his little green Jeep? He smells like fish and brandy, but his rotten teeth look dandy. Take me to the show, I don't care if fast or slow. From action flicks to dancing dicks, just take me to the show.